Hello everyone, my name is Tamarius and I am a student at Islands High School. I'm 15 years old and I would like to welcome each and every one of you to my channel, Plantastics Research. Thank you all for taking the time to come and view my channel, and I'm so happy that I get to share my information with all of you. The purpose of my channel is to help everyone understand their environment and everything around them. That includes plants, and that includes the many things such as gardens that we put around, just kind of get a sense of what our environment may consist of. But I mainly focus on plants and things pertaining to plants in some of our local areas in Savannah. Here on my channel, I'm going to share with you different types of plants and how they may affect our environment. So if you would like to take the time and share that with me, let's get started. Well, I'm going to ask the question, what is a plant? Plants are all around us, such as trees, flowers, and grass. We see plants all the time, but do we even stop to think what they are for? What do different plants do? Well, I'll tell you. Well, first, what is a plant? A plant, also known as plante, which is a scientific name, is a multicellular photosynthetic organism that grows in many areas, absorbing both water and nutrients from the environment. The word photosynthetic means that it absorbs energy from the sun through a process called photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is a process in which organisms use the sun's energy for food or in their own energy. The sun's energy, so specifically plants use photosynthesis to help create food. So without the sun, plants are basically in a lot of trouble. Plants rely on many different things from the environment to live. Just like us humans, plants rely on water. Now, instead of drinking water out of a bottle like we do, plants absorb water from the soil. This water is usually from rain, and this is called a process called the water cycle, but I'll discuss that in a later video. Along with water, plants need food as well. It's not some fancy dinner or cuisine. It's called glucose. Glucose is an important sugar that even us humans have inside our bodies that provide a type of energy source for living organisms. Just as plants receive energy from the sun, us humans, when we consume plants, receive some of that energy as well. Plants have nutrients inside of them from the soil and the earth in which they grow from. Think about an apple. An apple grows from a plant known as the apple tree or the Malus domestica. So when the apple tree receives its energy from the sun through photosynthesis, that energy then goes into the apple. And then that apple is picked from the tree or dropped from it. We would wash it off and consume it, then giving us a percentage of the energy that the apple received from the tree. You can think of this as a flow of energy or some form of chain in which each time a new consumption of energy is consumed. This is usually a percentage or a small percentage given from us or given to us. Another example of this, and one of my personal favorites, is when a cow grazes. Cows eat about 160 pounds of grass a day. We all know that milk comes from cows, so the nutrients the sun provides for the grass is then consumed by the cow. This gives the nutrients to the milk in which we drink. Even though the milk is processed after the cow was milked, there are always still nutrients inside of the milk. Because remember, there's always a transformation of percentage through energy. While I'm on the topic of the percentage of energy transferred, I want to talk about just how much energy plants receive from the sun during photosynthesis. Plants receive about 0.023% of energy from the sun to help make glucose. This goes back to sunlight converting both carbon dioxide and water into carbohydrate and oxygen. Yes, plants need oxygen as well to live. Just as we need oxygen to breathe in order to live, I'm going to now answer, do some plants need more energy than others from the sun? Yes. While all plants need sunlight to live, some plants need about full straight sunlight, and this could last about 6 to 8 hours of sunlight when submerged in the sun. Because some plants need a lot more energy to grow, and this could depend on the type of plant or how big the plant is. So what happens when the plant doesn't receive enough sunlight, or the amount of sunlight it needs to live? If a plant does not receive enough sunlight, most plants will die or become weak. There are some plants that have a different effect. This effect is called process of etiolation. Etiolation is when the stem of the plant grows longer and more rapidly than usual because of the lack of sunlight. Many plants in search of light will lose strength. They will most likely have a longer stem or internode. but hardly any leaves. This topic brings me to another question. Can plants have too much sunlight? Yes, plants can have too much sunlight, just as they can have too much water and fertilizer as well. Too much sunlight can kill plant or affect its flowering. This can be determined whether the plant is a long or short day plant. Long day plants, such as lettuce or spinach, need about 14 hours of sunlight daily to flower, which in short plants, such as chrysanthemum and violet, need much less than 14 hours of sunlight. And if you are planting a plant, it is most important to know the sunlight requirements before planting, because it can result in the plant dying or being dehydrated, which is very bad. Now that we have discussed what happens to plants submerged in too much sunlight, I'm going to discuss what happens with plants submerged in too much water or absorbing too much water. Just like sunlight, plants need as much water to live as well to live. But there is also a negative effect of having too much water. If a plant has absorbed too much water, it could cause wilting. Wilting is when a plant releases water if it has too much of it. A sign of this could be if a plant starts to drip water off the leaves or through the stem, and this is called wilting. Another really horrible outcome of plants having too much water is a plant molding. Mold tends to thrive in wet areas, and a plant with too much water or absorbed water is one of them. This is a disease. A common mold to do this is called crown rot, and that is a disease that survives on eating away at the infected stubble of the plant and can be very difficult to get rid of. Another form of this is called root rot, which is similar to crown rot but occurs at the roots of the plant. The root is usually where most of the water is held. This could be very bad to any plant, so it's very important to know the correct amount of time for a plant to be submerged in sunlight and how much it should be watered. And now that we have discussed what happens to plants when absorbing too much water or energy from the sun, plants can also have too much fertilizer. This is called over-fertilization. Over-fertilization is caused by us humans. This most likely occurs to plants on a farm, considering farmers fertilize their plants using big tractors called fertilizers. A fertilizer is a high mobile machine that is used that has the tendency to release fertilizer onto the plants and crops in a huge field. Although fertilization is necessary, over-fertilization is not beneficial. Over-fertilization becomes recognizable when there is a foaming or white salty-looking substance that submerges from the soil where the plant is growing. It can be very hard to get rid of, especially if there are exceeding amounts of it. But a way to get rid of it is by flooding water where the white foaming substance has occurred. Not an exceeding amount of water, but just enough to remove that substance so it doesn't affect the plants any longer. Have you ever heard of the term that too much of something is good? Too much of something good is bad? Plants are used for many things in our environment, and they help our environment, and they are helpful to us as well. Trees provide oxygen for us, and crops that are grown provide food and nutrients. I'd say plants are really cool, or plantastic as I would say. It is good to know that something even in our backyards and parks that's all around us is beneficial to our everyday needs. This is why it's important to know to tend the plants if you are growing them, or tend to your yard when there's grass and trees. It is important to also know to keep in mind that plants provide a source of food and energy not just for us, but animals as well. And that's why it's important to take care of the plants around you and in the environment, because we never know when we might need them. Well, that's all for today's video. I hope everyone enjoyed, as well as I did, getting to learn new things, and I have a lot more research to share with you guys, as well as getting to interact with the things I love to do. In the next video that I will post, I will be discussing the effects of nature on plants and go further into detail on how plants affect the environment. I will also discuss the different classifications of plants and their scientific names. So after this video, I would like you to think about what I could do to help take care of plants around me, even in the smallest way. What can be beneficial to plants around me? I hope everybody has a wonderful day, and thank you for sharing your time with me as much as I did with you. Have a wonderful day, And always stay researched on your research and stay fantastic. Everyone have a wonderful day, and I will see you next week. And I hope everyone has a nice day. See you later. Goodbye.